So if someone's just watching from YouTube, will we know they're watching?
Yeah, you can actually go to the YouTube video page, like it'll update and show how many people are streaming.
Will we know they're watching?
Yeah, you can actually go to the YouTube video page, like, okay, somebody's got their mic open and speakers on. Like it'll update and show how many people are
Will we know they're watching?
yeah, you can actually go to the YouTube video page, like, okay, somebody's got their mic open and speakers on. Like yeah, so I'm going to mute us for the
Can everybody see the PowerPoint slide? All right, good.
Dave, do you hear a delay when I speak?
No, I don't hear it when you speak, but we're going to hear it from the speakers in the fire hall room.
Okay, yeah, I could hear that when
So
I
I
signed.
think, and if Bill's in the room, with him with it muted might be the right way to go until we take questions from the room. So
Okay,
off track when we're talking.
yeah, because it's a lengthy delay. Yeah, okay, yeah, I could hear that one. Lengthy delay.
we're actually muted.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's better. So I would say leave it muted in the fire hall until we take questions from the fire hall.
E-Day. Link.
And I see a sign from Bill which says, I can't read it. Can you just say it?
No.
Can you type it in the chat, Bill?
Hey, I'm on. I'm on.
Removing laptop. So Bill, is that a problem when I speak, the feedback? Okay, hey, Bill, everybody's muted except me. So now you can tell if I'm the one with the feedback. Okay, so I guess my strategy is I will not speak very much. I'll just run the show. Okay, welcome everybody to the Downtown Development District Workshop. We'll give it a few more minutes as more people are joining, and then we'll get started. And Bill, if you're still there, is the sound any better? Trisha can have headphones. I do not have any headphones handy, so my approach is going to be to not speak very much. Makes my job easier.
Dave, I'm just going to minimize or until you need me, okay?
Okay.
give a 5 count.
Okay, we're just testing some audio, folks. Please stand by. Going to give Bill a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody, thank you for being patient. We'll get started with the workshop in a few minutes after we sort out some audio problems. Bill, need me to say something again? Is that a good thumbs up, thumbs down? All right, welcome everybody. I think I got the all clear from Bill that we have some audio problems sort of worked out. Hopefully we don't hear a whole lot of feedback. I will not talk a lot as a consequence. I'm gonna share the presentation here, so give me a moment. All right, welcome everybody to Downtown Development District Workshop for Delaware City. My name is David Edgell. I'm with the Office of State Planning Coordination. I'm going to give you a brief introduction, and then we'll go into the first speaker. Again, our participants tonight giving you this workshop are myself with the State Planning Office. Next, we'll have Penny Pearson with the Delaware State Housing Authority, and she'll talk about the Downtown Development District rebate. Then Rick Farrell of Retail Market Answers LLC, our consultant, and Karen Horton of the Delaware State Housing Authority will talk more about the DDD resource team. And finally, David Baylor or someone from Delaware City will provide some information about their local program. And basically, I just said this, which is the agenda. And we'll end with some questions and answers. And we'll talk about that when we get to that point. If you have questions along the way, you can put them in the chat and I'll read them at the end. But in the interest of time and in speaking as less as I can, I'd like to turn the floor over to Penny Pearson with the Delaware State Housing Authority.
Thanks, David. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me, David? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, we're going to just provide you with a basic 101 overview of the DDD rebate program. This will include program requirements, qualifying capital expenditures, and a quick walkthrough of the small project application process. Next. So the DDB rebate program, a little bit about the program. It's the primary incentive to support and encourage investment in the designated districts, which Delaware City is one of the districts. It's available to qualified district investors who make qualified real property investments within the designated district. The investment must be for the rehabilitation, expansion, or new construction of a commercial, residential, industrial, or mixed-use building or facility. Investors have the ability to receive a rebate up to 20% of the QRPI, which is basically the eligible cost. And rebates are performance-based, meaning the investment must be completed, paid for, and placed in service prior to applying for the rebate. So some of the basic minimum threshold requirements are, one, the property must be located within the boundary of a district. It must be made in conformance with the district plan. Each district has submitted a district plan to the Office of State Planning when they applied for their designation. It also must, the qualified real property investment must be made after the date the real property is officially incorporated in the district. For Delaware City, anyone that is currently in the district, that date is August 19th, 2019. Also, the investor must meet site control requirements. And what this means is that you have to be able to show us that you have legal title to the property, or if you're a tenant making a investment, you must have the owner's consent. Work must be performed by a Delaware licensed contractor in order to qualify as an eligible expense. Next. So who's qualified to apply? A property owner, whether they occupied the property or they're the non-occupant, tenants making leasehold improvements, they may also apply with the property's owner's permission. Investors can be for-profit developers, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and homeowners. One thing to note is that federal, state, or local agencies or quasi-governmental organizations are ineligible to participate in this program as an investor or as a property owner. Next. So the DSHA has established 2 funding set-asides, and the reason for this is that we wanted to ensure that a variety of projects have access to the rebate funding. Large projects set aside are for projects that have qualified real property investment greater than $350,000. The rebate is calculated at 20% of that eligible cost, up to $2.5 million. If the QRPI is over $2.5 million, then it's calculated at a lower rate. That rate is approximately $40,000 per additional $1 million in investment. The maximum rebate that a large project can receive is $1.5 million, and that would require a $27.5 million qualified real property investment. And then the small projects, which we're going to focus on this evening, is the QRPI must be between $25,000 and $350,000, and the rebate's calculated at 20% of the final QRPI, and DSHA will determine that amount once we've received all your paperwork. And the maximum rebate that a small project investor can receive is $70,000. Next. So the large project rebates, the large project investor must apply for and receive a reservation. The reservation applications are accepted up to twice a year and subject to funding availability. We are currently having a round of large project applications right now. They were due this week. If there's funding left over, then we will open a spring round, probably close to the end of March. This application process can be competitive. If we receive more applications than funding, then they're scored and ranked, and the highest ranking projects would receive the reservations. One thing to note is that this reservation that you receive is a guarantee of funding availability only. It does not guarantee the rebate. However, as long as you followed all the requirements of the program and submit all the paperwork and meet all the deadlines, there should be no reason that you would not receive a rebate. Investments must be completed, paid for, placed in service prior to applying for a rebate. Investors must apply within 60 days from the placed in service date, which is typically the certificate of occupancy. The large projects require an attestation of actual costs by an independent CPA, and the costs associated with that attestation are not eligible for rebate. This is pretty much all we're going to discuss as far as for the large projects. So if you have any questions, when we get to the question and answer session, you can certainly ask questions about the large projects. And also there'll be contact information for me at the end of the presentation, and you can just call me directly. Next. So what's eligible? Generally speaking, hard costs, brick and mortar costs directly related to the physical construction of a building structure. This includes exterior, interior, structural, mechanical, and electrical work that's done. Demolition of a primary building when it's replaced with a new building is also eligible. And we have included some very limited costs related to site improvements and also to non-residential appliances and equipment. Again, just a reminder, work must be performed by a Delaware licensed contractor to qualify for the rebate. Next. So what's ineligible? So typically this is what we've referred to as soft costs: acquisition, insurance, architectural, engineering, permit, and impact fees. Also any kind of financing fees, construction interest, those are also not eligible. Computer network installation and equipment, office equipment, and point of sale equipment are also not eligible. However, if you need to, if there's wires being installed inside the walls to support this equipment, that is eligible. Most exterior and interior signage is not eligible. There is some signage that we've allowed on the exterior that has been bolted and considered permanent in nature. We have allowed a rebate on that. General maintenance type repairs and service calls are not eligible. This is not considered a repair program. Examples would be if you had a small leak in the roof and you repaired that, that would not be eligible. But if you had a situation where you were replacing an entire roof system, that would be eligible. Another example would be HVAC. If you're repairing an existing unit, it's not eligible, but if you're replacing it is. Outbuildings, road repairs, new roads, curbing, perimeter and public sidewalks, fencing, playgrounds and equipment, swimming pools, boats, Boat docks and landscaping are also not eligible. Labor and materials for work performed by unlicensed contractors or individuals, including homeowners, are also ineligible. Next. There's also some ineligible activities. Businesses that are referred to by the Internal Revenue Code as a sin business are not eligible. Some examples of that would be golf courses, country clubs, massage parlors, racetracks, and liquor stores. They're just some of the examples. Also, adult entertainment establishments, check cashing facilities, tobacco-only retailers, vape shops, and recreational-only marijuana retailers. Institutional related activities such as hospitals, public and private schools, colleges and universities are ineligible, and federal, state, or local government related activities such as libraries, post offices, and public safety services are also ineligible activities. Next. Next slide.
Having a little trouble with the slides, Penny.
Okay,
Maybe the next slide is small project rebates. Maybe you can start talking and it'll catch up.
sounds good. So the small project rebate is what we're going to focus on, and that is just a reminder, your qualified real property investment needs to be between $25,000 and $350,000. That rebate's calculated at 20% of the final QRPI. So if you had a $50,000 eligible investment, you would receive a $10,000 rebate. You must also have a minimum of $25,000 in qualified costs to apply. The maximum rebate is $70,000, which requires a $350,000 investment. And also, let's just say that we've had situations where somebody's got a $375,000 project. They choose not to go through the large project application process. They can come through the small projects. Their rebate would just be capped at the $70,000. Projects must be completed within 12 months from the initial building permit or construction commencement date. Construction must be continuous, meaning no inactivity for more than 60 days. We have been having some situations because of COVID-19 where because some of the agencies that perform inspections and permitting have had a little bit of a slowdown, that we have been able to give people a waiver on that 60 days. But the reason for this is that we're looking for a planned project with a planned scope of work that has a start date, and then we'll continually work and complete that, so it's done as soon as possible. Investments must be completed, paid for, and placed in service prior to applying for the rebate, and investors must apply within 60 days from the placed in service day. So when the project is completed and you have placed in service, that's when you would come in and apply. And we have a checklist available to everyone that outlines how to package your rebate application. For the most part, many of these exhibits are very easy to pull together. Exhibit 5, which is your proof of investment, that's probably will be where all your time is spent. But I'm just going to quickly go through some of these and give you a little bit of information. Exhibit 1 is the project description and district conformity form, and that's a form that DSHA will provide. The project description is section A. That's the section that investors complete. So basically, they're telling telling DSHA and the district what their project's about. And then section B of this form is completed by the district. And what they're saying is that your project conforms to their district plan, and they're also going to, at that point, tell you if there's any incentives that are available to your project. And then they'll sign that form, they'll return it to you, and you would submit that in with your application. Exhibit 2 is the proof of site control. If you own the property, then we require a copy of the deed. If you are a tenant, then you will need, there's another form that you will need to have the owner sign, complete and sign, giving you permission to apply. And also we'll need a copy of your lease. Exhibit 3 is proof of property condition. We ask for, approximately 6 before pictures of what the property looked like before the improvements, and then 6 after pictures of what it looked like afterwards. And then a copy of your final placed in service document, which is typically the certificate of occupancy, but there are some situations where certificate of occupancy is not required. And in those cases, you would need to get a letter from your district just stating that your project met all permitting requirements, passed all inspections, and did not require a certificate of occupancy. And then Exhibit 5, this is the proof of investment. And this is the exhibit where we use to calculate what your rebate is. Couple things to note is that the name on the deed, the name on the payment instrument, and the applicant name or the investor's name on the application to DSHA all have to match. So if ABC LLC owns the property, then the payment instrument must show that it is an account belonging to ABC LLC. And then the application, the investor listed would be ABC LLC. You're going to need proofs of payment, and proofs of payment would be copies, fronts and backs of checks showing that the checks have cleared the bank. Also, you may need to have some credit card receipts if, for example, your contractor allowed you to pick out some of the materials like cabinetry that you decided to buy that and then have it installed. Then that receipt would need to show what was purchased and what the credit card was. Also, one suggestion here is that when you're working with your contractors, let them know up front that you're going to need an itemized invoice. The invoice needs to show the different types of work that were performed and the costs associated with those. And if you have any questions about that, then that's a good conversation to call in and talk to myself or one of my team members about. Exhibit 6 is certification of application submission. And basically what that is, it's a document that you need to sign saying that the information that you're providing to us is truthful. And then Exhibit 7 is the IRS Form W-9. You're required to fill that form out because DSHA is required to complete a miscellaneous 1099 form at the for the year the rebate's issued. More than likely it's a taxable event, but that's something that you can talk to your tax professional about. We also ask for no cash payments. Those are highly discouraged, and depending on the situation, we may not be able to provide a rebate on something that's paid for cash. The next slide, please. So I wanted to kind of give you an idea about some projects that have come in and how the rebate and other incentives have been able to help the project. This was a commercial investment. It was, I believe, a dental office. The DDD qualified real property investment that they made was approximately $235,000. We were able to provide a rebate of $47,000. The district for this one provided an incentive of $1,000. And then Kent County has a grant program that they qualified for $10,000. So the total value of incentives for this project were $58,000, which is a substantial amount of money that you can get back on your investment. The next slide, please. This is a residential single family. This was a project where the qualified real property investment was $94,000, and they received a rebate of $18,800. The district was able to provide some incentives that were equivalent to $851, and then Kent County grant was $1,500. The value of these incentives was $21,000. One of the really great things about this program is that the incentives are stackable. For example, some districts have facade programs where maybe if you're doing construction work on the facade of your building, they will provide a $5,000 grant. And let's say that you had facade work that was the equivalent of $5,000. They provided the grant to you for $5,000. You would still be able to include that $5,000 in your QRPI. So you would then get a $1,000 rebate from us on that. So it's one of the very few times where you can kind of double dip with these programs. The next slide, please. These are a few of the projects in Delaware City that have come in. We have had a residential rehab, and we have also had 3 new construction projects. And so far, we've issued 4 rebates for Delaware City, totaling $104,000. And just some additional statistics on the program is that since the inception of this program, which is in 2015, we have provided 162 small project rebates for $3.8 million. And there are 39 large projects currently with reservations. Some are under construction, some are getting ready to start construction. And we've reserved almost 18 million for those. And then we've actually issued 42 large project rebates totaling 14.7 million. And then lastly is my contact information. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask them during the question and answer session tonight, or you can give me a call directly. I'm Penny Pearson, and that's my direct number. Also, there are 2 team members that also assist with the DDD rebate program, Tanisha Scott and Brittany Klecken, and any of us can help you. So I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that we're able to hear from some of you and help your projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. We did have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
I want to read to the group and may have you respond to them. Read this one that says, what if you have signed paperwork for a contract but have not started payments yet for residential? Is it possible to retro the grants? And that's kind of as it was written.
If they have a signed contract but have not paid. Yeah, I think I need a little bit more detail on that. I don't know if we could take the next question and maybe they could type in.
Yeah, so maybe that was MYKUL. If you could just maybe type in a little more detail about your question, we can have Penny circle back to that.
So just off the top of my head is that if it's not paid for, it does not qualify for a rebate. We actually have to have proof that it's been paid for. Now, if it's a construction loan or some type of loan that you're making installment payments on, then we would need evidence of that loan and the payment structure. And then in that situation, we can pay on it.
Okay. The only other question we had, I think it's more of a comment that just indicated that this sounds difficult for small businesses to navigate. And, you know, Penny, I don't know if you wanted to mention the work that you and your team do to help small businesses. And I'm sure Rick and Karen will sort of fill in the next section about the resource team. But anything you'd like to say to that?
Well, what I would say is that the majority of the people that we help are small projects and small businesses. You know, the dollar amounts look large for the large projects, but you know, some of those projects have $27 million in each project. So, but where we're the most hands-on is probably with the small projects. There's a lot of assistance to help guide you through the program. We've got great partnerships with the Office of State Planning, with the Division of Small Business, with historic tax credits. And I think that you would find if you tried to use the program that you'd be successful. I have been administering this program since the inception, and I only have one application so far that we were not able to give a rebate to, and that was because they just didn't meet the minimum of the 25,000. So I would say, like, if you have questions about navigating this, just, you know, give me a call.
Okay, Penny, we did have one more that maybe you could answer. If the building is mixed use commercial and residential, but it has a liquor store, does it still not qualify?
Mixed use and recreation, okay. The residential component of it would qualify, the commercial component would not.
Okay. Let's move on to the next segment where we're going to have DDD resource team. We're going to have Rick Farrell and Karen Horton share some information about the work that we do with the towns through that team. And I don't know, Rick, if you're, I can't see you in the room there, but and I need to probably unmute you. Rick, do you have the screen there where you can unmute or Bill? Yeah. while we're waiting, Penny, another question came in. Does a project need to apply for the program and be accepted before any work is started?
A good question, no. But what I would suggest is that you talk to first the district. Let them know that you have a project in the district. They can talk to you about the different incentives that may be available to your project. And then also contact DSHA, because then we can kind of listen to what your project's about. And there may be some things that are not eligible, but if they were done a little bit of a different way, they would be eligible. So it's a great way to just communicate your project and for us to help you, you know, be successful and get the largest rebate possible. So I always encourage everyone to talk to us before their project begins.
Okay, thank you. And now back to the fire hall. Bill, are we able to get some audio? All right, please stand by, everybody. I think we are working on the audio issues. Hey, Penny, are you still online?
I am.
I got another question. I think for those of you who can still hear us, I know Bill and the fire hall did have to reset something there in that room. But if you can still hear us, here's another question for Penny. Is there a prohibition time frame to business types not approved if they desire to become future tenants or restored space or building? I think that might be a sort of a shell versus tenant fit out question.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. I'm just looking at the question. Dave, can you read that to me one more time?
Is there a prohibition time frame to business types not approved if they desire to become future tenants or restored space or building? And then he follows up with for the building. And I think the question gets back to that mixed use. You know, if you restore a building for the commercial space,
Yes.
You know, what's the time frame for the tenant fit out?
So let's say that you have a mixed use building, and typically what we'll see with a mixed use building is someone who does not already have a tenant. They will come in and they'll do a rehab of the building. And let's just say that the second level is residential. They'll get that all completed. Then in the commercial side, what they'll do is pretty much just like a vanilla shell in hopes that they can attract a tenant. Once the tenant, so they'll come in, they'll get their rebate. Then once they find the tenant, there's two ways to come in. One, the owner can agree to make the improvements, and that the tenant needs to use the space. And if they make the improvements, then they can come in and apply for the rebate. Now, if the tenant is going to make the improvements, the owner can give the tenant permission to come in and apply for a rebate. But just keep in mind that it needs to be construction type work. Like a lot of times what we'll see for a fit out would be like new walls have to be put in. There's additional electrical, additional plumbing, sometimes some permanent cabinetry, things of that nature are all eligible. What's not is like if you're bringing in some sort of retail and you're, need to put in shelving, things of that nature are not eligible. But anything done to the permanent structure of the building would be eligible. And we see that happen all the time. And there's no time limits. The only limit there is that there's a $1.5 million cap on a building. That's the max that they can receive for a rebate. But in order to receive that 1.5 million, the owner would have to invest 27.5 million. So in a lot of these smaller buildings, this is never an issue with the owner giving the tenant permission to use part of the rebate. But like in downtown Wilmington, there are situations where the building to rehab it, they use the full 1.5 million. So there is not funding available for the owner to share with the tenant. But we do see those fit outs all the time. It's very common.
Okay, thank you, Penny. Rick, can you, do we have audio from you now in the fire hall? Showing that you're unmuted on my end, Bill. Not working? So still not hearing your audio, Bill.
Dave, I see we have a few more questions.
Yeah, well, you want to go ahead and give those a try?
The first question is, will there be a local hire ordinance used? No, unless there is, your municipality requires something. DSHA does not. For our program, it just needs to be a Delaware state licensed contractor. The next question is, the rebate can be used along with an approved state and or federal historic preservation tax credit project. Yes, that is a great, that is another great incentive to use with the DSHA incentive, because anything that the historic preservation tax credit allows, even though they're giving you a tax credit on that, we're still going to allow a rebate on any of those eligible costs. Now, I will tell you, some costs that we show as ineligible, in their program are eligible, but we have a lot of projects that are able to take advantage of both of those programs. And I believe from talking with investors, they say that they've been able to recoup anywhere, like up to like 50% of the costs of the project. So that is definitely, if you have an historic building, you definitely want to check into both of those programs.
All right, Bill, any progress on the audio? We are still not hearing your audio, and maybe we'll have to personally maybe end it here for the Zoom portion and just have you address the crowd there at the fire hall. Rick, is that where we're going? Everybody, please be patient. And we did have a question about the slides. If you'd like to have copies of these slides, we can make them available. We'll put them on our Downtown Development District website. We can distribute that link. Let me just see if I can put it in the chat here. Just give me just a second to get that link for you. That's right, everybody. By modern technology, I have Rick Farrell on my cell phone. I'm going to hold it up to the microphone on my computer, and hopefully somebody will let me know if they can hear Rick. Rick, you may start talking.
Okay, can you hear me?
We need Penny. Can you unmute?
Yes.
Check.
Yes.
All right. The answer is yes.
All right, well, let's try to do it this way. Thank you, everyone, for indulging in these technical difficulties and staying with us this evening. It's great that you're doing that. I'm a member of the resource team, as Dave Edgell said at the beginning of the meeting. And I'm joined not only by the folks from housing and planning that are a part of this workshop tonight, but several other members that you're not getting to meet tonight. But understand that there's resources available for helping people move projects forward. So my role is really on the business development side and technical assistance particularly. I'm actually the Downtown Development District coach. And in that capacity, I'm working with district administrators around the state, and in Delaware City, that's David Baylor, and related officials and volunteers that are working on Delaware City projects. One of the responsibilities is to help move and market key projects and help them go forward. And that can be small projects like some of the ones Penny outlined earlier. My role typically focuses on strategic planning with district administrators in the areas of business recruitment, business retention and in expansion strategies, businesses that are with us, that have already invested and are looking for a path forward that stabilizes or even more greatly improves their operating performance. A lot of that often has to do with helping identify access to capital so that small businesses can achieve those goals. And as Penny said earlier about stacking different resources that are available, one of the things that I help with is to make sure that when we're looking at projects, we're looking at every available potential funding source so that projects not only get liftoff, but can be brought across the finish line. And oftentimes we see that successful projects require multiple sources of funding in order to come to fruition. One of the people that was scheduled to be on tonight was someone from the Office of Historic Preservation, but she had a family emergency to attend to, so we're not hearing from her tonight. But she's part of the team, and as an example, part of that stacking that we've been talking about tonight in terms of other grant opportunities that help bring projects to fruition. In Delaware City, there's a number of historic properties, and historic tax credits can be used in addition to the DDD rebate program, and oftentimes bring project costs to half of the costs of the project can be underwritten by rebate and tax credit, both in the form of state and federal. And those are just three components of incentives that reduce costs. When we look at some of the other components like county-wide grants or the incentives offered by the municipality, we see, a great opportunity to reduce costs. So the short of it is to think of what I bring to the table and my contribution as a team member is to help get unstuck when projects are in the process of being stuck. Finding ways to move forward and work strategically so that when you have a question, if we don't know the answer, we can resource the answer and again, move projects forward. And with that, I think I can turn this part over to Karen and rejoin the meeting.
Sure thing. Dave, I'll just take it and just
Go right ahead.
talk about, okay. I just wanted to say that really, if you have not bought into the DDD rebate program like I have, that it's really a terrific program. I mean, it's been extremely effective in accelerating private investment into distressed downtown areas. And Penny gave a really good summary of how many projects have been completed since the program's inception. And one way of putting it is that since 2015, only $36 million in state funds, they have leveraged over $630 million in private investment in these designated districts, in these, districts that are hearts of our downtowns, the souls of our communities, but have needed some help, because of time and things that happen over time. And, all of this investment, creating a range of housing opportunities, new businesses, jobs through new construction, renovating vacant buildings, and kind of mutually supporting a lot of different goals, such as historic preservation that Rick touched on. And I have to say, not only the powerful incentives that are making this program so effective, it's the strong partnerships, this team that Rick referenced, which is ensuring this program's success. Partners just like the Delaware State Historic Preservation Office, but the Division of Small Business, Office of State Planning Coordination, and DSHA, we all work together to walk lockstep with Rick. He is providing that highly technical assistance, but what we're doing is we are meeting with him regularly to say, well, what about this? What do the districts need? What do investors need? And, we work to bring training, online resources like that central incentive site that Rick pointed out, and marketing material to support the districts in attracting private investment and redevelopment. Another thing that we have, and we're currently updating it right now, is the DDD story map, where we show by district all of the projects that have been done over time. Also, we this is probably our third training in the last 9 months, and they're geared toward different target audiences, and we're open. If you see a need or a type of audience that could really use some more specific training to address a certain issue, let us know what it is, because we really do want to be helpful here. Also, like I said, we have these promotional materials that we've been working with the University of Delaware to develop. We have posters, flyers, window clings, digital tools, social media posts. What we're going to be doing very soon and shortly, in fact, we're meeting in 2 weeks to really discuss this, is their distribution is going to be prioritized in 2021. So it really tells the story of the impact of the DDD program to a larger audience. And then because it's been so effective, we just moved on to year 2 in terms of working with Rick and bringing more resources and programming to the districts and potential investors. Some of the things that we've been working on is maintaining current online information. And one of the ways, we call it an online template website, but just someplace where information is provided and updated centrally. Also, Rick's been working with the districts on a community inventory, and now we're looking at, for those that are ready, and business owners or whoever wants to do this, to expand this business and building inventory more so it matches end users of the downtown space with the available space. And we want to do this by incorporating it into existing inventories, such as the one maintained by the Delaware Prosperity Partnership, because when those sites get into the Delaware Prosperity Partnership's inventory, it automatically gets those sites in front of a much regional, national, and even international audience of potential investors, a potential just interest in your community. And that's something we're really, really excited about. Also, just continuing to bring training resources like the one tonight. We want to know, we want to hear back from you. We always want to know, like, what kind of materials, what kind of programming do you need from us to help make this program a success? Because we see the potential, we see the impact in the downtown areas. I just encourage you to take a look at the first 3 districts that were designated, particularly Dover and Seaford, and definitely Wilmington. But in terms of smaller districts and smaller downtowns, it's been amazing. And we're really excited for Delaware City. We're really excited by the interest that's that we see for Delaware City. And we just want to say we are here for you. We support you. And anyway, we just thank you for this opportunity to help.
Thank you, Karen.
Sure.
Do we have, I guess we don't have Rick on the line or anybody from the fire hall. We were to have David Baylor or somebody from the city, Delaware City, to address us. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that tonight with the audio problems, but I did put in the chat, David Baylor, who is the city manager, his phone number and information. I'm sure those of you in Delaware City know who he is and can get in touch with him. So definitely contact him with any questions, and he can help you with Delaware City's incentives and help you get your project started. And he coordinates closely with Penny and her team, as well as Karen and Rick and I. And we did have a question, and in the chat box, I'll just read it here. It says, is DSHA or Rick working on the difficulty of obtaining long-term financing? Heard that construction loans are okay, but long-term financing has been tricky. we'll ask Rick to, he can talk to the folks in the room there, and maybe we can get him to answer that, and we can send that out by email. I am, I put in also in the chat, our website, stateplanning.delaware.gov. If you get to that website, you can click on downtown development districts, and you can find, we'll put this presentation up on that website along with any answers that Rick can provide or any additional information. And is that David Baylor I see in that little screen that I have? I see him. Yes. If, yeah, I don't think we can get our audio fixed. I'm not hearing you through the Zoom, but if you just wanted to address the people in the room and we can get your information. Some new messages here. All right, it says, the audio issues, David will forgo speaking, but call town hall or Rick for any assistance. And again, the message here is that we would like to make ourselves available to help anybody in Delaware City that wants to take advantage of this program, and we hope that you do. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Zoom, and I do apologize for the various audio problems that we've had. It's many times we try to do test runs and things like that. Something always surprises me with these computers. So hopefully, and I think very positively, as 2020 goes on, we'll be able to meet more in person, and I look forward to meeting all of you in Delaware City sometime soon. So with that, I believe that we will sign off, and thank you all for attending.